Howdy folks, and welcome back. This is our 60th tutorial, so congratulations for you for getting this far. Congratulations to me because it's taken a while, and between work and life and stuff, I'm struggling to drive this tutorial, but I'm doing my best and I hope you guys enjoy it and you are building something cool that will help you with your job in the future. So as I said before, I want to drive it a bit faster. So Django REST framework is something that needs a lot of time to learn. We're not going to do that. I'm going to just show you one more thing and then we go to React and go back to actually building our portfolio because it's been months since it was actually changed and redone and improved. So it's nice that we're adding some new technologies like REST framework and React, but the main thing is the content of the portfolio, so what it can do and how well it works. Right, so last tutorial I did comment this all method overriding out just to make sure that everything works by default, as pollutant view set and country view set, they do exactly the same job. So they use their models to give the use the object, and then we use this serializer that is assigned for each of these view sets, and then they have the CRUD operations generated automatically for them. So as I said before, this is kind of like we looked at something more complex and now I want to go back to something more basic. So we are going to build whatever this view set is doing in conjunction with this router. We are going to build something that does exactly the same but with our own code, and you'll see how to make it very easy and transparent. I think what was helping me when I was learning new stuff, and I was using more basic function-based views and stuff, I was intimidated by classes a little bit because they abstract a lot of things for you. Using function-based views, it was very transparent to me. Whatever is happening right in front of my eyes. And it's not like I need to go and check what's going on here and then another and dig deeper to get to the functionality. I write the functionality myself. The problem with that obviously is that you rewrite the same thing that was already written for you, and we're supposed to stand on each other's shoulders. If somebody made something, you shouldn't be rewriting it unless you want to learn how to do it and understand it better. But in real world, when you try to create an app or maintain an app, you don't want to rewrite something that was made for you already. So, but we're going to do that now. So let's say I want to build country kind of view set, but using function based. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a function called country. I'll just keep it as country. It obviously needs a request here. So very simple stuff. I'm in apis.py. Why am I not in views? It's still about APIs, right? I'm still building something that is not going to be a website. It's going to be just an API that sends back a JSON. So that's why I like to keep APIs and views separately. And that's going to be very similar to what we saw in views, by the way. So whatever's happening here, so define, and then we have a name of a function, and then we put a request here, and then at the end we do some stuff here, and then at the end we send back. And by the way, here we are sending JSON response, so it's very similar to what we're going to do today. Okay, so country request. What do we want to do? So let's have a look here. We need some sort of a query set. So we can copy this actually, because that's going to do exactly the same thing. We need that information. We need that query set because we kind of want to say, yeah, whenever we work on country, we want to have this in our disposal. We might want to filter out some stuff from it, but like the most basic the most basic query set will be this one. Give me all the objects from country. And by the way, query set means it's not actually the data itself, it's just a question to the database. So we're going to ask for all of them, and then we can attach new filters. So at the end, when we actually grab some information from the database, we only have a string of questions to the database, queries to the database. So this weighs nothing. It's very light, and don't worry about data. We're not getting all the objects from the database right now. So then if we want to mimic the retrieve or maybe list functionality, right? I'm going to start with list. So what we want to do is we want to serialize this query set. We want to serialize the list of all the countries and send it back. So serializer will be country serializer. So we are using something from Django REST framework. It's not like we're just building based on pure Django. We are grabbing some of the Django REST framework stuff, which is country serializer. We pass the query set there. So maybe instead of query set, let's call it countries, okay? And we're gonna pass that here. So countries, and obviously we have to specify that it's gonna be many, because it's a list of objects. It's not going to be just single object. It's going to be a list of objects. So I need to specify many. And as we did before, so in views, as I told you, here is this JSON response, and I can scroll up, and where is it? It's coming from HTTP. So let's see if I have it here. And I don't, so I'm going to just import it from Django.http import JSON response, right? And I can do this. Return JSON response serializer.data. Okay. So the last bit will be adding a URL pattern here. So we have those two APIs already registered in the router. So if we go to, let's see here, see that API / air pollution / country / CC. So that's one of the router endpoints that are available to us. I'm going to do something like API / air pollution / maybe v2 / country / whatever. So so there's a distinction, and we can compare them to each other. So in here there is the simple one, and in here, so I need to go to APIs, and I need to import. Oops, you can see that there was some error here, so I'm going to just stop it here, and I want to just import country. That's the views. That's the view here that I'm importing. That's the function-based view, and I'm gonna create another path, and that's gonna start with like version 2 / okay. I think I'm supposed to put a slash there. Let me see in URLs. Yes, slash at the end. Just making sure, and it's gonna use country, just like that. Okay. And in here, I forgot about country. So country, see, we have that here. So I need to specify the full path here. And slash at the end maybe, and restart. Go here. I made a mistake, and that's why you can see this. And what else is going on? Country. Oh yes, so there is this safe parameter to false, right? So basically, in order to allow non-dict objects to be serialized, set the safe parameter to false. And safe parameter comes from here. And as we send this JSON response, we just add safe false. And by the way, status 200 would be nice to inform that it all went right. Okay, and let's see again. Boom, we have the list of all the countries. And if I go here again, boom, list of all the countries. By the way, if I just go and do like air pollution, right, it tells us, oh, that's just the router. So we don't get, if I do v2, oops. Yes, so it's a basic, so that's the difference between using the router and just sending back a JSON response. We don't get nice GUI for testing, right? So it's still working. I can still do the GET request to this, but the difference here is that it's just nicer to use this. We get all the different options here. We can do different calls and so on. So it's just Django REST framework gives you a lot of power by default if you use a specific format, but you can write stuff yourself, and it's going to be a little bit more bare bones. Okay, but the problem here is if I go here and I do clear, and I do exactly the same call, but I'm going to do post. What does it mean post? If I try that without v2, so to our old class-based view, and I try this, it's going to say that we are supposed to send some information there. The name is required, and ISO code is required. It's expecting some data with my post because it's trying to build new country entry, basically. But what if I do post to my v2 endpoint? What happened here? CRF failure. Oh, okay, yeah. I know what happened there. One last bit I need to import. I need to exempt it from CRF because obviously Django is very secure, and I was trying to post something and there was no CRF token attached. So just for this simple demo, I'm gonna do the exemption for the CRF. So from Django views decorators CSRF import CSRF exempt, right? And I'm gonna decorate this with CSRF. I keep forgetting about S. Right, and let me restart and do the same thing, and boom. So I did post, so that's like create something, but I just specified the endpoint and didn't add any data. And what happened was like, yeah, you specified this URL, which is here, and I'm going to country. So let's go to country and boom, yeah, here's your answer, 200, and just serialize data from all the objects. So to control the methods, we can do something that we did before, I think. So if request.method equals get, right? And that's going to be our get. And then if request.method equals post, let me just quickly come back with something very simple. So in here we can just put in like a, I don't know, message is hello. Here we need this, and also we don't need safe anymore. And let's start that. And let's go and clear and country, and we get message hello, right? Okay, so it works. It did know that we are posting that instead of getting. If I try that again, but with get here, we get the expected data. Okay, so what about actual post? What about actual creation of? So let me scroll down here, and what about this, right? How do we handle this post method here? So let me just scroll. And by the way, I don't want to use JSON response anymore. I want to use just response. So I'm going to just change that to response, and then this is not required anymore. And this status here, what I can do is I can do status dot 200 using REST framework, right? So it's a little bit help from REST framework. Yeah, but we still write it ourselves. Cool. So that's going to be response as well, and status will be, well, we'll see what kind of status we're going to get. For now, I'm going to just use status.http AOK, and let's start here. So when you post something, you need that data there, right? So let's get that data, and there's something called a parser in REST framework. So let's try to get that from REST framework parsers. Parsers import JSON parser. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we need to implement here. And the way it works is we get the JSON parser. Okay, quick stop here because, well, I was hitting a couple of roadblocks there because I made a couple of mistakes. First of all, I shouldn't have used response. We are still supposed to use JSON response here. And then to use JSON parser, we need to initialize it first. And then when we want to get the data from the request, we use that initialized JSON parser. We use parse method and we pass request into it. And then having this data, we can use it in a serializer as data. And as per usual, we need to check if it's valid. And if it is, then we save and we can JSON response, and we can send back the data with the status HTTP 201 created. Otherwise, this return here would have serializer.errors, and you'll see in a second that line with the status 400, I think. But you'll see in a second. Sorry about that, but that's what's happening here. And let's post. So it already exists, so that's fine because I was just trying. Delete. I'm going to delete that and try to create it again. and it worked fine. And we send back the HTTP OK. Sorry, created here. And if I try to create it again, I get the errors here. So it already exists and it already exists, right? Name and ISO code. Okay, so sorry about that. So my bad here. JSON response is the one that you want to use for function-based views. And here is our post, which is create. Okay, so that covers this one basic URL here. That is just v2/country/ and no ID here. So we need another view for the ID handling. So this router for country will do all shebang: get, post, put, patch, delete on all of these, country or country/ID. In here, we need to be more specific. We need to add another view that will handle the IDs as well. So let me just create another view here, and I'm going to just copy this because it's going to be very similar, except for a couple of changes that we're going to make here. So country, let's call it detail, and the rest will be quite similar. All right, and we want to be able to grab that PK in here. So that's going to be the primary key passed into the URL, and then it's going to be passed here. What I want to do is I'm going to try to get an instance. So country is country.objects.get, and PK is PK, right? So, oops, what's wrong here? Shadows country somewhere. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm going to just call it country instance. And obviously we need to have an accept statement, which will catch a country that does not exist as E. So we pass this. So this is the exception that we might get if the object doesn't exist. So we try to get it, and if it doesn't exist, then we want to just say, hey, we caught that error. There was an error raised, which is called does not exist, and we're going to do something with it. That's why I say as E, and that E is going to be our error that we can handle here. JSON response, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say error, and I'm going to just pass stringify our error, which is here. Okay, and I'll give it a status 404, HTTP 404 not found, right? And let's give it a try. So, all right, so I need to add country detail here, country detail, and in here we want to add country and that ID in here. So that's going to be string called PK. Oh yes, and that should be country detail. Okay, again, ABCD, error country matching query does not exist. So we got the message from here. This one was passed here, and we got it as a message here. Okay, so it does work. But assuming we did get the country instance, so we can go here and change the get method. So get, before we were trying to serialize many, we already have a instance. So I'm going to just pass it here. So copy, paste it here. It's not going to be many anymore, right? And I don't think we need this false in here. So I'm going to just save it this way. Go here and try to, so clear, and try to get, let's say, PL, and boom, we have Poland. So it will work quite nicely. And then we have post. So as you might remember, we don't post anything if we have the PK. We either put or patch, right? So let me change that to put. This stays the same. This stays the same. We try to parse the data from the request. In here, we need to pass the instance. That's going to be our country instance. And we pass the data in here. And the rest should be the same. So we validate, we save if it's valid, and we send back the data of the new created, updated. So we're going to change that to something HTTP 200, right? Let's say. If something went wrong, then we get that error and we send back the errors in that message. So that's our put. What about patch? So we want to do a partial. Okay. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do this because it's going to be very similar. So what I'm going to do here is change that to in and make it a list. So either put or patch, right? And in here, there is another argument that I can pass, which is partial. And that's going to be either true or false. So what I'm going to use is this request method. If it's patch, it's going to be true, right? Why is it missing white space? So it does require a white space here. Okay, so partial is request method is patch. So if it is true, then partial is going to be true. If it's put, it's going to be false. And that's that should do it. Let's see if it works. So let's try to curl x put some stuff to cc, okay. And I don't want a foo bar in there anymore. So I'm gonna change that name to say hello cc, enter. And as you can see, the new the changes are done. Hello cc is there. But what about if I want to patch? So let me just change that to patch. And patch means I don't need to specify all the required fields. I can just delete ISO code and say hello by CC. And as you can see, the ISO code is still CC, and we patch that with this by CC. So it works. So what we have get, we have put, patch. So the last one will be delete. So if request.method is delete, all we need to do, so we have that instance here, country instance, and that's the easiest part. So just delete. So we don't need to send any JSON response actually. All we need to send back is HTTP response saying deleted. So here, before J, HTTP response. And in here, I'm gonna just turn HTTP response status HTTP 204, was it? No content. Okay, that means the content has been deleted. And if I try that, oops, did I refresh? Let's just refresh quick. Curl x delete cc. Oh, sorry. So, oh no. Patch, put, post. Let's create it again. And let's go back. And I know I want to do, oh no. What I was doing before, let's just mess it up. What I was doing before, I was actually using version not to here. So let me again. So what I was doing there was using the wrong version. So post, put and patch, right? So we have air pollution country and there's no v2. So maybe it didn't work. Okay, so I put a slash there. That's why I was getting an error, and I was asking myself, should I add that slash here? So probably if I have that slash and I don't put that slash, let me see what happens. An error. So either way, I'm gonna keep that slash there just for some reason. I think it's because if I didn't use v2, it's gonna give me that error here. So let me use v2 and just match that to be exactly the same, and it did work. So let me just clear and do put again. So put worked, right? But I need to keep that v2 here and cc slash, and you can see that we have this hello cc, and let me patch. So I just curl x patch And what I need to add here was v2 and by CC, and boom, by CC works. So apologies for the mess before. I forgot about the v2, and I was very happy that, yeah, it works. And it did work at the end. It does work. I just wanted to make sure. Cool. So, and I want to delete, right? So curl x delete, and we want to do delete v2, enter, and there is nothing to show. It was just the response status was 204, and if I try to get it, cc slash country matching query does not exist. That means it was deleted. Phew, okay, done. So these are the two changes here that we had to do for our API to work, the function-based two views. Here is no PK, here is with the PK that we pass to the country detail view. And here are our two views that we have to create, and each of them have to handle different methods, right? So this is for listing, the get method for non-detail view. Here's the post method, so it's create, and there's no PK as well. Here we handle PK. So if we get, that means we retrieve one item. If we put or patch, we update, and here we delete, and that's going to match each of these methods here that we were looking at before in our previous tutorials. And as I said before, this is a little bit more advanced, although as maybe now you have the feel that, okay, we wrote all this and there's no other way we can use function-based views for API than to write it from the scratch. With class-based views, we get all of this with 3 lines of code, and it's already done for us. So that's the beauty of using class-based views. Okay, so probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick to class-based views in the future when we build the new functionality for our portfolio. So I know it was very, it's not even a crash course of Django REST framework. There's lots of other cool stuff that it's useful to know, and I'm going to tap into those things as we go with our tutorial. If you want to know better what you can use in Django REST framework, please go and look for different tutorials. I actually use, and I'm going to just put that in front of you guys because I give the credit where the credit is due. I found this gentleman on YouTube a couple of years back, and it's really good tutorial. Here is, so RF Tech, and here's the full, 14 videos of how to use Django REST framework. I was looking for a good tutorial on YouTube, and this one is the only one I found that explained everything I needed. So it's either let's continue with our tutorial and you will see bits and pieces just like popping up, or if you feel like, no, I need to grasp Django REST framework better, go here, or look for your own sources, because obviously we all have our preferences and so on. Anyway, let's continue, and the next video will be about React. Cool, super duper. I'm super excited and can't wait to finally put my fingers on React. Oh, okay, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.